For thousands of years we were taught about spiritual purity, but the most terrifying truth was hidden in books read only by the chosen few. The earth can become unclean, not in a metaphorical sense, but in a literal one. And it is happening right now before our very eyes. The book of Leviticus, chapter 27, contains words that could keep you awake at night. It says, "When the land is defiled by the blood of the innocent, it will spit out its inhabitants." But the church does not read these words from the pulpit. Why? Because they reveal a secret that has been hidden for centuries from ordinary believers. The real truth is this: the earth is a living organism. It breathes. It feels pain. It reacts to human actions. And when the corruption becomes too great, the planet begins to defend itself. What we call ecological disasters are in reality the earth's attempts to cleanse itself from those who poison it. The prophet Jeremiah wrote about days when lands would be laid waste because of human sins. He was not speaking about spiritual emptiness. He foresaw ecological catastrophe. He literally described a time when rivers would turn black, fields would stop producing, and the air would become toxic. In chapter 44, he wrote, "Because of your lawlessness, your land has become a desolation, a horror, and a curse without inhabitants." Today, we see these prophecies fulfilled before our eyes. The oceans choke with more than 8 million tons of plastic every year. Forests burn from the Amazon to Siberia. The climate rages, sending tornadoes to places where they never existed before. But the most frightening thing is this: it is not an accident. It is the fulfillment of ancient predictions about a defiled earth. Every ecological disaster is a step toward the final judgment of the planet. Chernobyl, Fukushima, the ROC. These places became unclean in the most literal sense. They will not be livable for thousands of years. The earth spit them out exactly as Leviticus foretold. Radiation made these territories unfit for humans, animals, and plants. Like this video, if you're ready to uncover the truth hidden for centuries. Subscribe to the channel, because what you will hear next will change your understanding of the world forever. But the worst is still ahead. The ancient text described the final stage, when the entire planet becomes unclean at once, when not a single place will remain where anyone can hide from the wrath of the earth. The prophet Zephaniah wrote, "In the fire of his jealousy the whole earth shall be consumed, for he will bring a swift end to all who dwell on it." Do you not see the signs around you? Mass extinction is happening faster than after the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Every single day, 250 species of animals and plants vanish. In the last 50 years, wild animal populations have dropped by 70%. Extreme weather events have become the new normal. Floods in deserts, snow in the tropics, hurricanes in places where by the laws of nature they should not exist. Pandemics are born in places where humanity invades untouched ecosystems. The coronavirus appeared after the mass destruction of bats in China. Ebola spread through deforestation in Central Africa. Every time we destroy natural balance, the earth answers with a new disease. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Romans, wrote that all creation groans and suffers, waiting for the sons of God to be revealed. He knew the earth was alive, that it feels pain from human actions, and that a day of reckoning would come. In chapter 8, he prophesied, creation itself will be liberated from bondage to decay into the glorious freedom of the children of God. Modern science confirms this. The Gaia hypothesis, developed by British scientist James Lovelock, states that the planet is a single living organism. When we poison it, it fights back. Climate change is not just a physical process. It is the immune response of the planet to human aggression. The earth runs a fever to rid itself of the infection called mankind. Remember the flood in the days of Noah. God did not simply punish humanity for its sins. He cleansed the earth from corruption that had been building for centuries. He washed away everything that made it unclean, and he promised not to do it again, placing the rainbow in the sky as a sign of covenant. But what if next time the cleansing does not come from above, but from below, from the earth itself? What if the planet itself decides who is worthy to live on its surface? In the book of Ecclesiastes it is written, generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The earth is 4.5 billion years old. Humanity in its modern form has existed only 50,000 years. Who is in charge here? Who should obey whom? Perhaps it is time to remember that we are not the masters of this planet, but only temporary guests. And if the guests behave badly, the host has a right to drive them out, forever. Did you know that in the book of Numbers it is written, blood defiles the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood shed upon it except by the blood of the one who shed it? These words were spoken by Moses in the Sinai desert 3,500 years ago. But today, they sound like a prophecy about our time with terrifying accuracy. Think about this question seriously. How much innocent blood has been spilled upon the earth in the last 100 years? 2 world wars claimed 75 million lives. The Holocaust destroyed 6 million Jews. Genocides in Rwanda, Cambodia, Bosnia, and Armenia added millions more victims. Terror spread to every corner of the planet. Abortions take the lives of 50 million unborn children every single year, and all this blood entered the earth. It seeped into the groundwater. It flowed into rivers and lakes. It mingled with the rains that water the fields. We drink water mixed with the blood of millions of innocents. We eat bread grown in soil, saturated with suffering. The Bible says, "The earth opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. But when there is too much blood, the land can no longer absorb it. It becomes unclean, poisoned, and it begins to take vengeance upon those who defiled it." This is not a metaphor. This is a literal description of what is happening to the planet right now. Look at the sites of the greatest carnage of the 20th century. Verdun, where in 10 months of battle 700,000 soldiers died. The lands there still cannot be farmed because of unexploded shells and poisonous gas. Stalingrad, where every square meter was soaked with blood for 8 continuous months. The city still suffers from abnormally high cancer rates. Hiroshima, where the atomic bomb vaporized people, along with the shadows of their bodies etched on walls. Nagasaki, where the second bomb completed the experiment on the civilian population. Even now, something is wrong with nature there. Plants grow abnormally. Animals behave strangely. Genetic mutations are passed down through generations. The earth still remembers what happened. The prophet Ezekiel saw visions of the end times and wrote, "I will pour out my fury upon them like water, for the blood they have shed upon the land. He wrote of rivers turning to blood, of land drunk with the blood of the innocent. His contemporaries thought this was symbolic language. But what if he saw a literal future? The Ganges River in India has been officially declared biologically dead from pollution. 500 million people depend on it, yet its waters are so toxic that bathing in it can kill a healthy person within an hour. Heavy metal concentrations exceed safe levels by more than 1,000 times. Corpses thrown into the river take years to decompose. The Yangtze River in China runs red from industrial waste. Locals call it the River of Blood. Factories dump the byproducts of electronics, textiles, and chemicals into it. Fish are born with 2 heads. Children living nearby suffer cancer at rates 10 times higher than averaged at the Rio Grande, between the United States and Mexico, is so polluted with pesticides and industrial waste that fish die en masse every summer. Their meat is unsafe to eat because of toxic levels. At night, the water glows from radioactive elements. In the book of Revelation, John the Apostle wrote of the third angel who poured out his bowl upon the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood. And he heard the angel of the waters saying, "You are righteous, O Lord, for you have judged these things. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink." Theologians have always interpreted this symbolically. But what if John was witnessing industrial pollution? Rivers poisoned with chemicals that turn the waters red like blood? What if the angel of the waters is the planet's ecological conscience, demanding justice for the destruction of creation? The most terrifying thing is that this is only the beginning. Ancient texts warn, after the earth is defiled by the blood of the innocent, a time will come when it will no longer yield food, when rains will turn acidic, when the air will become impossible to breathe without protection, when the earth itself will become the enemy of humankind. Do you not see how this is already happening? Harvests are collapsing worldwide due to desertification and soil salinization. 40% of the world's farmland has degraded in the last 50 years. Acid rain is destroying forests in North America and Scandinavia. Smog covers Asian megacities, making the air unfit to breathe. In the Talmud, the ancient Jewish commentary on the Torah, it is written, "When the land is defiled by the blood of the innocent, it drives out its inhabitants through famine, plague, and the sword." Look at the map of modern conflicts and ecological disasters. Syria lost half its population to war and the worst drought in 1,000 years. Afghanistan suffers desertification and famine, forcing millions to flee. Ukraine is fighting for land partly poisoned by Chernobyl's radiation. Sudan collapses under the desertification of the Sahel and the shrinking of the Nile. Venezuela, the nation richest in oil, drowns in chaos fueled by ecological degradation. These are not coincidences. They are the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy that the earth will spit out those who defile it. The prophet Hosea wrote 3,000 years ago, "Because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land, there is swearing and lying, killing and stealing, and adultery. Blood touches blood. Therefore the land shall mourn, and everyone who dwells in it shall waste away." He foresaw the direct connection between the moral collapse of humanity and ecological disaster. The more evil people commit, the more nature suffers. And then comes the moment when nature can no longer bear it, when it begins to answer in kind. Most people believe that Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed for sexual sins and moral corruption, but that is only half the truth preached from church pulpits. The real reason for their destruction is hidden in a passage that for centuries was mistranslated or simply ignored. These cities became unclean not only morally, but ecologically. The prophet Ezekiel, in chapter 16, wrote plainly about the true sins of Sodom. This was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and careless ease were hers and her daughters, but she did not strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. They were haughty and committed abominations before me. In other words, the main sin was not lust, but ecological arrogance. The people of Sodom destroyed nature for the sake of luxury and comfort. They consumed everything without thinking about the consequences for the environment. They lived in abundance, while those around them starved and thirsted. It turned a paradise on earth into an ecological disaster through unrestrained greed. Archaeological research supports this version. The region around the Dead Sea 5,000 years ago was the most fertile land in the Middle East. It had date and olive groves, flowing rivers, and millions of people in thriving cities. The Bible itself calls this valley the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. But excessive consumption destroyed the ecosystem in less than 500 years. The soil became salted from improper irrigation and overuse of underground water. Rivers dried up because forests in the highlands were cut down for construction and fuel. The fertile topsoil was washed away by rains after vegetation disappeared. The desert swallowed the civilization, leaving only salt pillars, ruined cities, and legends of divine punishment. But in reality, it was nature's punishment for breaking its laws. The sulfur and fire that fell from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah were not divine intervention in the classical sense. They were an ecological catastrophe of planetary scale, a release of methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other toxic gases from beneath the earth. Explosions of gas fields triggered by critical disruption of the region's geological balance. Modern geologists have found traces of an ancient explosion in this area that reshaped the land for hundreds of kilometers. Rock layers reveal that temperatures reached nearly 3,000 degrees. This explains why sand turned into glass and organic matter into coal and sulfur. Today, we're doing the same thing the people of Sodom and Gomorrah did 4,000 years ago. We extract everything from the earth: gas, oil, shale, rare metals. We destabilize the continents for short-term profit. We trigger earthquakes in places where they never occurred before. Fracking or hydraulic fracturing has caused thousands of earthquakes in Texas and Oklahoma. Shale gas extraction poisoned underground waters in 15 American states. In some regions, tap water can literally ignite from a match because of methane concentration. Lot and his family fled the city before the catastrophe, warned by angels. But these were not heavenly creatures. They were people who understood the signs of an approaching ecological collapse. They saw the earth could no longer endure such abuse. Lot's wife looked back at the city and became a pillar of salt. The official version says this was punishment for disobedience to God, but the geological version is more plausible. She was caught in a chemical release, poisoned by hydrogen sulfide, so concentrated it instantly transformed organic tissue into a mineral form. Similar Cases happen today near volcanoes and gas emissions. People caught in hydrogen sulfide clouds mummify within minutes. Their bodies crystallize with sulfur and salt. The Dead Sea still remains dead because of its abnormally high concentration of salt and toxic minerals. Around it stretch barren salt deserts where not even the hardiest plants can survive. This is not just the result of an ancient disaster. It is a warning to future generations of what happens when humanity breaks the balance of the earth. Have you ever wondered why Jesus Christ chose Sodom as a symbol of the end times? In the Gospel of Luke, he said these prophetic words, "As it was in the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so will it be on the day when the Son of Man is revealed." Look at modern megacities through the eyes of a prophet. New York consumes resources from an area 1,000 times larger than its own territory. Tokyo releases so many greenhouse gases that it alters weather patterns within a radius of 500 kilometers. London once turned the Thames into an open sewer, and later spent $100 billion to clean it. Beijing is so clouded with industrial smog that the sun is invisible for half the year. Residents are forced to wear respirators just to walk outside. Children are kept indoors because the air is toxic. Is this not the repetition of Sodom on a planetary scale? We consume the resources of the entire planet to sustain the lifestyle of the golden billion. The 50 wealthiest nations consume 80% of natural resources, leaving crumbs for the rest of humanity. The most frightening thing is that we already know exactly how it will end. The ancient text described the finale in detail. Fire from the sky, smoke rising in pillars to the clouds, the land that will never again yield harvests. This is not fantasy written by biblical authors. It is a program of the future, recorded thousands of years ago by people who saw the end of their own civilization. In chapter 16 of the book of Revelation, the 7 bowls of God's wrath are described in detail, to be poured out upon the earth in the final days before the end of the world. Most modern preachers and theologians speak of them as symbols of spiritual judgment. But what if the Apostle John was actually seeing ecological catastrophes of the future? What if each bowl is a precise scientific description of what is happening to the planet right now, only told in the language of the first century? Let us examine each bowl and compare it with today's realities. The first bowl, and the first angel went and poured out his bowl on the earth, and harmful and grievous sores came upon the people who had the mark of the beast and worshipped his image. In modern language, this is the epidemic outbreak caused by humanity's invasion of untouched ecosystems. The coronavirus appeared after mass destruction of bats in the caves of Yunnan. Ebola spread through the deforestation of tropical forests in Central Africa. Bird flu mutated on industrial poultry farms. Anthrax returned as the permafrost began to thaw. Every new disease is nature's answer to human aggression. The second bowl, the second angel poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became like the blood of a dead man, and every living creature in the sea died. This is not poetic imagery. Red tides kill millions of tons of fish every year. Toxic algal blooms stain waters blood red across thousands of square kilometers. In the Gulf of Mexico, there is a dead zone of 22,000 square kilometers where no life survives because of oxygen depletion. The Red Sea near Australia literally turns red each year from blooms of poisonous algae. The Baltic Sea is suffocating from industrial runoff. The third bowl. The third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, You are righteous, O Lord, for you have judged in this way. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. Industrial pollution has made drinking water unsafe in half the countries of the world. In India, rivers run red from the chemical waste of textile and leather factories. The Ganges, sacred to Hindus, is officially declared biologically dead. In China, 40% of rivers are contaminated with heavy metals from electronics plants. In Africa, rivers are stained with the blood of conflicts over gold, diamonds, and coltan. 5 minutes ago, you might have thought these were coincidences. But now you can see a clear pattern. Each bowl of wrath is a direct ecological problem we face today, and they are poured out one by one, methodically and relentlessly, as if following a plan written 2,000 years ago. The fourth bowl. The fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and it was allowed to scorch people with fire. They were scorched by fierce heat, and they cursed the name of God who had power over these plagues, and they did not repent or give him glory. Global warming. Extreme heat waves that kill tens of thousands of people every year. The summer of 2023 was the hottest in recorded history. In Europe, temperatures reached 50 degrees. In India, asphalt melted on the roads. In Canada, wildfires consumed entire towns. The fifth bowl. The fifth angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and its kingdom was plunged into darkness. People gnawed their tongues in anguish and cursed the God of heaven for their pain and sores, but they did not repent of their deeds. Smog that blankets the megacities of the world. Air pollution so toxic that breathing without masks is impossible. Beijing, Delhi, Mexico City, and Tehran regularly disappear beneath clouds of poisonous smoke. People wear respirators not because of viruses, but because of their own air. In China, cans of clean air are sold as luxury items for the wealthy. Air quality indexes in many Asian cities regularly reach levels considered extremely hazardous. Children are born with damaged lungs. Asthma has become an epidemic among urban populations. The skies are dark not from storm clouds, but from industrial fumes. The sixth bowl. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, to prepare the way for the kings from the east. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon and the beast and the false prophet 3 unclean spirits like frogs. This may be the most precise prophecy of all. The Euphrates is drying up at catastrophic speed because of dams and climate change. Its water level has fallen by 70% in the last 50 years. Archaeologists are uncovering ancient Mesopotamian cities on its dry riverbed. Turkey has built 22 dams on the Euphrates, cutting off water to Syria and Iraq. Iran has diverted its tributaries for irrigation. Syria and Iraq now fight over every drop. These are the 3 unclean spirits gathering kings for the final battle. Greed, nationalism, and religious fanaticism. The 7th bowl is the most mysterious and terrifying. The seventh angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake such as there had never been since mankind was on the earth. Every year the number and strength of earthquakes increase at an exponential rate. Official statistics show that in the last 50 years the frequency and magnitude of tremors have multiplied tenfold. Volcanoes that slept for centuries are erupting across the Pacific Ring of Fire. Tectonic plates are shifting faster than any geological models predicted. The planet's magnetic field is weakening and moving at a pace that terrifies scientists. The Yellowstone supervolcano is showing signs of awakening, a disaster that could wipe out most life on Earth. Like this video if you see this is no coincidence. Every ecological catastrophe is the direct fulfillment of a prophecy written 2,000 years ago by a prisoner on a Greek island. Does it not seem as if an unseen force is pouring out these bowls right now? One after another, methodically, mercilessly, as though executing a precise plan to wipe away the old world and clear the ground for the new. John saw this vision on the island of Patmos, exiled there by the Roman Emperor Domitian. He did not fully understand what he was witnessing. He had no words for industrial pollution, greenhouse gases, acid rain, or nuclear radiation. So he described the future in the only language he knew: bowls of wrath, avenging angels, apocalyptic symbols. But behind the symbols lies precise scientific information about what is happening to our planet in the early 21st century. The most terrifying part is that the seventh bowl is not even the end. After it, the book of Revelation describes even greater horrors. 7 trumpets, 7 seals, 7 thunders, words that John was forbidden to write down because humanity was not ready for that truth. How many more catastrophes await the planet? How many more bowls must be poured out before the earth is finally defiled and unfit for human life? The answer lies in the next chapters of this forbidden investigation. In chapter 13 of the book of Revelation, the Apostle John describes 2 beasts that appear in the last days. The first beast is well known and feared. It rises from the sea, with 7 heads and 10 horns, on its horns 10 crowns, and on its heads blasphemous names. This is political power, empires, dictatorships, totalitarian regimes. But the second beast is far more intriguing and dangerous for the modern world. It rises from the earth with 2 horns like a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon. It looks harmless, even attractive, yet it performs the greatest evil in human history. It compels everyone to worship the first beast and its image. Who is this mysterious second beast? It is corporate power. Transnational companies that control the global economy. They appear as gentle lambs in commercials. They boast about saving the planet in glossy PR campaigns. They fight for the climate at international conferences. They invest billions into green technologies and renewable energy. But behind the polished marketing facade hides the dragon. These corporations are destroying the planet for profit faster than all the armies of the world combined. They cut down the forests of the Amazon to produce palm oil for cookies and shampoos. They poison Africa's rivers to extract cobalt for electric car batteries. They devastate ocean ecosystems with plastic packaging that takes 300 years to decompose. They pump billions of tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, manufacturing products designed to break after 1 year by the principle of planned obsolescence. And then they purchase environmental indulgences in the form of carbon taxes and continue with a clear conscience. They create nature-saving charities funded by profits from its systematic destruction. They speak of sustainable development while drafting marketing strategies to increase consumption. The beast from the earth performs great signs, even calling fire down from heaven before the eyes of men. Is this not a perfect description of modern technologies? Cloud seeding with silver iodide to control weather. Artificial intelligence predicting and shaping the behavior of billions with 95% accuracy. Space projects of billionaires promising colonization of Mars for the chosen few while Earth turns into an unlivable wasteland. Satellite systems tracking every movement of every person. Geoengineering powerful enough to alter the climate of entire continents. They have created a new object of worship for modern humanity. Not the golden calf adored by Israel in the desert. Not wooden idols in pagan temples, but the green dollar of American currency, the glowing screens of smartphones and computers, the brands that have become more sacred than family and faith. People spend more time worshiping the screens of gadgets than speaking with their own relatives. They buy things they do not need to impress people they do not even like. They work at jobs they despise to earn money for status symbols. The most terrifying part is that this beast places a mark on all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave. It forces a mark upon their right hand or upon their forehead, so that no one can buy or sell except those who have the mark or the number of its name. This is not a physical mark carved or branded on the skin. It is digital dependence that has ensnared humanity. Bank cards without which no purchase can be made. Smartphones without which no taxi or food delivery can be ordered. Social networks without which no job can be found. QR codes required for entry into public places. Digital passports containing every detail of your behavior. Social credit systems like those in China, determining whether you have the right to board a train. Do you think you are free from this system? Try an experiment. Live one single day without a mobile phone. Buy something using cash instead of a bank card. Travel somewhere without GPS navigation. Talk to friends without social networks or messaging apps. You will quickly realize that you already carry the seal, mark of the beast, and cannot function without it. You have become a willing slave to the system that is methodically destroying the planet for corporate profit. The largest corporations of the world know more about ecological collapse than all the governments and scientific institutes combined. They employ the best scientists on Earth. The most powerful supercomputers model the future. The most precise satellites track climate change in real time. They see the ecological catastrophe racing toward us. They know the exact timelines for resource depletion. They understand the consequences of mass pollution. Yet they continue, even accelerating the pace of consumption. Why? Because they are not human in the true sense of the word. They are beasts without soul or conscience. They have only one goal, the maximization of profit at any cost. and they are willing to destroy the entire planet for one more percentage point of quarterly growth. To these corporations. People are not creatures made in the image of God. They are consumers and producers. Resources to be exploited. Nature is not God's creation, but raw material. The future of the planet is not an inheritance for children, but an asset for monetization. Look at the actions of the largest corporations without the rose-colored glasses of marketing. Amazon destroys millions of packages and products every single day for the sake of convenience. Nestle drains underground water in deserts and drought-stricken regions to sell in plastic bottles. Chevron and Exxon poison the oceans with oil spills, then spend millions on ads about caring for the environment. Facebook and Google turn billions of people into digital addicts, selling their attention to advertisers. In the book of Daniel, it is written of the fourth beast, "It shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, different from all the kingdoms, and it shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it to pieces." The fourth beast is global capitalism without limits or conscience, a system that turns all living things into merchandise with price tags, nature into a raw commodity, people into consumers and producers, the future of the planet into instant profit, love into a marketing technique, faith into a business model. In chapter 6 of the book of Revelation, the Lamb opens the 7 seals of a mysterious scroll, written inside and out, sealed with 7 seals. Each seal is a stage in the gradual destruction of the old world and the preparation for the new. Most modern theologians interpret these seals only in a spiritual sense, but what if they are actually a detailed calendar of natural disasters and social upheavals that have already begun in our era? What if each seal describes a specific stage of the planet's ecological collapse? The first seal. "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, 'Come and see.' And I looked, and behold, a white horse. Its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering." And to conquer, this is not Jesus Christ, as some naive interpreters claim. This is a false savior of humanity. Globalization, which came in the 1990s under the banners of progress, democracy, and prosperity, but in reality brought the greatest destruction in history. White symbolizes outward purity and attractiveness. The bow is a weapon of long range, killing from a distance without blood on the hands. The crown represents power over nations. This rider conquered without war, merely by promising a better life to all who accepted his system. The second seal. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come and see." And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. These are the local wars raging across the world since the dawn of the 21st century. Terror spreading after September 11th. International conflicts over dwindling natural resources. Over water in the Middle East. Over fertile land in Africa. Over clean air in Asia. The red color symbolizes blood and violence. The great sword means these wars will be especially cruel and bloody. People will kill one another not for ideology or religion, but simply for survival. The third seal. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." And behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice saying, "A measure of wheat for a denarius, and 3 measures of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine. This is famine and artificial food scarcity." Black represents death from malnutrition. The scales symbolize the weighing and rationing of food. A measure of wheat for a denarius means a day's work for a day's food. People laboring all day just to avoid starvation, and yet luxury goods, oil, and wine remain untouched. This means the rich will continue to live in abundance while the poor die of hunger. Social inequality will reach a breaking point, the 4th seal. When the Lamb opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. Its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given authority over 1/4 of the earth, to kill with sword, with famine, with pestilence, and with wild beasts of the earth. The pale horse is Death. Behind him follows Hades, to devour the souls of the dead. They are given power over 1/4 of the earth, that is, over 2 billion people, to kill by 4 means: by sword, wars; by famine, lack of food; by pestilence, disease; and by beasts of the earth, perhaps new plagues or predators. Do you realize that all these seals are already being opened? Globalization triumphed in the 1990s after the fall of the Soviet Union. Local wars have not ceased since September 11th, 2001. Hunger has returned even to developed nations through inflation and broken supply chains. The COVID pandemic showed how quickly mass death can strike on a planetary scale. In just 3 years, 7 million people officially died. Unofficially, the number may be 3 times higher. And this is only the beginning of the era of new diseases. The 5th seal reveals the greatest mystery. When the Lamb opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those slain for the word of God and for the testimony they held. And they cried out with a loud voice, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, before you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth?" Who are these martyrs beneath the altar? Not only Christians who died for their faith. They are all the innocent victims of human cruelty and greed. Billions of animals slaughtered for profit and entertainment. Thousands of plant species destroyed for farmland. Entire ecosystems annihilated for minerals. Forests cut down for palm oil. Rivers poisoned with industrial waste. Oceans contaminated with plastic and oil. The earth remembers every drop of innocent blood spilled upon its surface. These souls cry out to God for justice, but they are told to wait until the number of their companions is complete, those destined to be killed as they were, which means ecological killings will continue until a critical point is reached. The 6th seal. When he opened the 6th seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black like sackcloth, the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its unripe fruit when shaken by a great wind. This is the most accurate ancient description of a supervolcano eruption. The great earthquake before the explosion. The sun darkened by volcanic ash in the atmosphere. The moon turning red through dust and gases. Stars visible at midday because of dimmed skies. The Yellowstone supervolcano in the United States shows all the signs of approaching eruption. Seismic activity has increased 50 times in the last 20 years. Geologists say it is not a question of if, but when. An eruption could wipe out most life on Earth. The consequences would be catastrophic for civilization. Ash burying half of North America beneath 10 meters. Global temperatures falling by 5 to 10 degrees for several years. Crops failing worldwide. Billions facing starvation. Why do the media stay silent? Because panic would change nothing. No bunker can hide you from a supervolcano. No escape to another planet. No technology can shield against it. You can only wait and pray that your region is spared. Subscribe to this channel if you want to know what lies behind the seventh seal and how to prepare for the inevitable. The seventh seal. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. The seventh seal does not bring a new disaster. It unveils 7 trumpets, each one more terrible than the seals before. The half hour of silence in heaven is humanity's final chance to repent before the ultimate judgment. But most people will waste that chance. They will keep living as if nothing is happening, buying and selling, marrying and divorcing, planning vacations and careers, until the 7 trumpets fall upon them like the final judgment on earth. Stop thinking this is distant future or religious fantasy. The seals are being opened right now before your eyes. You are witnesses to the beginning of the end of the world as we know it. The question is not if it will happen, only how soon. The word Armageddon has terrified humanity for 2,000 years without pause. The Bible describes this mysterious place as the arena of the final battle between the forces of good and evil before the second coming of Jesus Christ. In chapter 16 of Revelation it says, "And they gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew Armageddon." But what if this is not a traditional war of armies with tanks, planes, and rockets, but an ecological war on a planetary scale? A war for the last territory still suitable for life on a planet rapidly turning into a barren desert. Armageddon literally translates from ancient Hebrew as Mount Megiddo. It is a real geographic site in northern Israel, in the fertile Jezreel Valley. Archaeologists have uncovered traces of 20 different civilizations that fought over this strategic ground across 5,000 years of recorded human history. Why did this specific place become, in the Bible, the symbol of the ultimate clash between good and evil? Because Megiddo lies at the crossroads of the great trade routes linking Africa, Asia, and Europe. Whoever controlled this valley controlled the commerce of the ancient world. Today, around this same region, a new and far more terrifying struggle is underway. But it is no longer about caravans of traders. It is about the energy resources of the 21st century. About water, now more precious than gold. About oil and gas. About control of the energy flows of the planet as traditional sources are being exhausted at alarming speed. Syria, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Israel, and Iraq hold in their hands the energy future of humanity. The world's largest pipelines cross their lands. Whoever controls these lifelines dictates economic and political terms to the entire globe. Do you think the war in Ukraine is simply a local conflict between 2 neighboring nations? Look closely at the map of Europe's gas pipelines. Ukraine is the key transit corridor between Russia and the European Union. Whoever controls that corridor controls the economy of half the continent. For decades, Russia has used natural gas as a geopolitical weapon, cutting supplies to countries that resist its aggressive policies. Europe struggles desperately to escape this dependence, but has yet to find true alternatives. Ukraine has become the very epicenter of a new energy war between authoritarian East and democratic West. This is no accident. It fulfills the biblical prophecy of kings being gathered for the final battle. The wars of the future will not be fought over gold, diamonds, or empty territory. They will be fought for fresh water, already more precious than the costliest oil, for fertile soil turning into desert through climate change, for clean air now a luxury in Asia's megacities. These vital resources are disappearing faster than even the most pessimistic scientists predicted, and the leading nations are preparing to fight for them to the last drop of blood and the last breath of their people. Revelation clearly says that before the final Armageddon, 3 unclean spirits like frogs come from the mouths of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet, gathering the kings of the earth for war. These spirits are 3 kinds of propaganda pushing nations toward the last global conflict. The first spirit is aggressive nationalism and militant chauvinism. Every great power begins to see itself as chosen, uniquely destined, and worth the sacrifice of millions of young lives. Putin's Russia speaks of a messianic mission of orthodox civilization. America proclaims its destiny to spread democracy by force. China dreams of restoring the great Chinese nation. Turkey invokes the Ottoman Empire. Iran speaks of exporting Islamic revolution. India of Aryan supremacy. Each nation finds its justification for war. The second spirit is religious fanaticism, where God is taken hostage by secular leaders for political gain. Putin uses the Orthodox Church to sanctify fratricidal war against Christian Ukraine. Erdogan plays upon Islamic devotion to justify military expansion. Iran builds a theocracy under the sacred banner of Shia Islam. Israel invokes the Old Testament covenant to defend its settlements. The third spirit is economic greed when instant profit matters more than human life or the future of the planet. Transnational corporations finance wars in Africa to secure rare earth minerals. Oil giants bribe politicians to block renewable energy. The military-industrial complex earns hundreds of billions from every major war, thriving on endless conflict. International banks fund every side, guaranteeing profit no matter who wins. These 3 spirits are united in our time as never before. Vladimir Putin fuses Russian nationalism, Orthodox messianism, and oligarchic greed. Recep Erdogan blends Turkish pride, Islamic zeal, and energy ambitions. Xi Jinping builds a communist empire cloaked in nationalism and global expansion. The United States marries democratic messianism to the prophets of its military and energy giants. Armageddon is not a romantic battle of abstract good versus abstract evil, as many believers imagine. It will be the clash of concrete evil against concrete evil, each side absolutely convinced of its righteousness, prepared to destroy the planet for its ideology. The Bible declares that all the kings of the earth will be drawn into this war, which means today's local conflicts will inevitably grow into a true global war. A third world war could begin from almost anywhere: the Taiwan Strait, the Middle East, the melting Arctic, or even outer space, where the new arms race is already underway. China tests hypersonic missiles able to wipe out satellite systems in minutes. Russia secretly develops orbital weapons. America has created its own space force. The terrifying reality is that this final war will be fought on a planet already on the edge of ecological collapse. Every missile strike, every nuclear explosion, every dam or power plant destroyed will accelerate environmental ruin. Imagine what would happen if hundreds of nuclear reactors around the world were struck. Chernobyl and Fukushima would look like child's play compared to global radioactive fallout. What will happen if armies torch oil fields, chemical plants, or rainforests? How many millions of tons of toxins would fill the air? Armageddon is not just the last war in human history. It is the irreversible destruction of the old world to make way for the new. An ecological cataclysm so vast that the planet itself will become uninhabitable for most life. The Bible promises that after this horror will come the 1,000-year reign of Christ on a new earth under a new heaven. Perhaps this prophecy means that only a remnant of humanity will survive, those able to adapt to a radically changed world. Do you still think this is fantasy from a Hollywood script? Look at the speed of rising tensions, at the arms race, at the stockpiles of nuclear weapons able to obliterate the planet several times over. Are you ready morally and practically for what could happen tomorrow morning? Do you have a plan for your family's survival? Do you know where to run when the last war begins? The answers to these questions await in the next episode of this Forbidden Investigation. In the final chapters of Revelation, the Apostle John describes a vision that for 2,000 years seemed like pure fantasy. He saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And he saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. Most Christians believe this new earth will appear after the resurrection of the dead and the last judgment. But what if John was not describing a mystical transformation of the universe? What if he was glimpsing the survival plans of the global elite after the planet's ecological collapse? What if the new earth is not divine renewal at all, but cosmic colonies for the chosen few? And the new Jerusalem is the futuristic city built for those who can afford a ticket to a new world. Today, the wealthiest people on the planet openly talk about leaving Earth. Elon Musk invests billions through SpaceX to colonize Mars. Jeff Bezos builds orbital stations through Blue Origin. Richard Branson launches space tourism. Do they know something the rest of humanity does not? Why are billionaires suddenly obsessed with the stars? Perhaps because they realize Earth will soon be unlivable for those accustomed to luxury and comfort. Climate change, pollution, dwindling resources, overpopulation, and social unrest are making the planet inhospitable for the elite. So they prepare backup plans in orbit, while ordinary people are left to fight for survival on a ravaged Earth. John wrote that the new city was a perfect cube 12,000 stadia in length, width, and height. Such a structure cannot exist on the surface of a planet. A cube is the ideal shape for a space station, rotating on its axis to generate artificial gravity. He said its walls were of jasper and the city of pure gold, like clear glass. This sounds like a description of modern composite materials and transparent alloys used in aerospace. The 12 gates of Pearl and 12 foundations of precious stones may symbolize 12 station modules, each with its own function or social group, and the statement that the city had no temple, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple, could point to religion being replaced by science and technology. God transformed into a technological singularity. Most striking of all, nothing unclean will ever enter it, nor anyone who practices abomination or falsehood, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Could this mean ruthless genetic selection? Only those with the right DNA allowed to survive? Who are these chosen ones in the book of life? Likely the genetic elite of humanity, those with superior physical and mental traits, those capable of producing the healthiest offspring in the hostile environment of space. Today's science can already predict genetic predispositions, disease resistance, intelligence, physical potential. Artificial intelligence can calculate who, among billions, would be most fit for cosmic colonization. Perhaps the COVID pandemic was a rehearsal for global selection. Those who survived without vaccines proved immune. Those who endured lockdowns proved psychologically fit for life in confined habitats. QR codes and digital passports may have been test runs for the control systems of the new world, but what happens to the rest of humanity? Revelation says, the cowardly, the faithless, the detestable, murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur. The lake of fire and sulfur may not be hell in another dimension, but earth itself after ecological collapse, poisoned with industrial waste, covered in radioactive ash, air unfit to breathe. Those left behind will live in a hell of their own making, fighting over drops of clean water, eating genetically modified plants from toxic soil, breathing through filters and respirators. But there is another possibility. What if the new earth and new heaven are not space colonies, but a restored planet after global cleansing? What if nature itself purges humanity of its destroyers, leaving only those who can live in harmony with creation? Pandemics, climate disasters, and wars for resources could serve as nature's tools of selection. Those who survive will be the adaptable, those who live simply without endless consumption, those who can grow food with their own hands and build homes from natural materials. Perhaps the future of humanity is not in cosmic technology, but in returning to the earth. Not in artificial intelligence, but in ancestral wisdom. Not in globalization, but in local communities living by the laws of ecology. The river of the water of life, flowing from the throne of God and the Lamb, may symbolize clean rivers restored once industry collapses. The tree of life, yielding 12 fruits each month, may signify the return of fertile soil. Its leaves for the healing of nations may symbolize plants that purify water and air. And the promise that no more curse shall exist could mean the end of humanity's war with nature. People restored as part of the ecosystem, not its enemy. So what about you? Will you prepare for a cosmic escape with the elite? Or will you learn to live in harmony with the earth? Write in the comments, how do you see the future of humanity after ecological collapse? We have reached the end of our investigation into the apocalyptic prophecies that are unfolding before our very eyes. You have now heard the truth that was hidden for centuries. The earth really can be defiled to the point where it becomes uninhabitable. And it is happening right now. The blood of millions of innocent victims has soaked into the soil. Rivers have turned red with industrial waste. The air is poisoned to the point where breathing becomes a struggle. The bowls of wrath are being poured out one after another. The seals are opening before your very eyes. Corporate beasts devour the planet for profit. Political leaders prepare for Armageddon over energy resources. The elite plots their escape into space, leaving billions of people stranded on a ruined Earth. But one crucial question remains. What should those who are left behind do? How can you survive in a world that is falling apart? How can you protect your family from what is coming? First point, stop living in illusions. No one is coming to rescue you. Not governments, not the UN, not Elon Musk. They think only of their own survival. Your life depends only on you and on your preparation. Second point, learn to live autonomously. Grow your own food. Purify your own water. Generate your own energy. Build your own shelter. The less you depend on the system, the greater your chance of survival. Third point, build alliances with others. Lone wolves don't survive in times of crisis. Find people who understand reality and are preparing for the future. Create communities of mutual support. Fourth point, relearn forgotten skills. Our ancestors lived for thousands of years without electricity, the internet, or supermarkets. They knew how to survive in the wild. Those same skills may one day save your life. Fifth point, hold on to spirituality. In times of disaster, people either become beasts or they find God. Faith gives strength to endure the darkest trials. Prayer preserves sanity when chaos surrounds you. Perhaps ecological collapse is not the end of the world, but its cleansing. Perhaps the planet is ridding itself of those who destroy it, giving a chance only to those who can live in harmony with nature. Maybe the new heaven and the new earth are waiting for those who pass through the trials without losing their humanity. Those who can build a civilization without greed, violence, and pollution. Share in the comments how you are preparing for the future. Do you believe the planet can still be saved? Are you willing to change your way of life in order to survive? Your words may help others find the right path. Tell us what you felt after watching this investigation. Has your vision of the future changed? What questions do you have? What would you like to know more about? Forgive any mistakes in the narration, since this voiceover was generated with the help of artificial intelligence. If you notice inaccuracies or sound issues, write about them in the comments, and we will correct them in future episodes. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new investigations into forbidden truth. Like this video if it opened your eyes to reality. Share it with those who are ready to hear the truth. And remember, knowledge is power. And in the times that are coming, that power may be the difference between life and death.